Hello and welcome to GTO Coach and Go. I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey, and I want to thank you for joining us again today. Before we get started on today's topic, I do want to remind you that if you've not done so yet, please subscribe on YouTube, and that's clicking that little subscribe button, and also ring the bell, and you'll also be notified then whenever we have new content up on our site. If you're on LinkedIn, please follow us at Group Travel Odyssey on LinkedIn. Today, we've got a couple of topics that we're going to be going through. We have a few tweaks and updates that we've done to Trip Manager for those of you who are using Trip Manager. As well as that, we've got the first phase of what is going to make ordering Broadway shows easier for you. So in order to go through those items, I'm going to bring back our friend and our network engineer, Corey Vries. So let me bring Corey onto the stream right now. Hi, Corey.
Hello. It's good to see you, Jim.
Good seeing you. So as I was saying, we have some exciting information about the first phase of making things a little bit easier for ordering Broadway tickets. And as well as that, some tweaks and improvements, simplifications maybe on Trip Manager that you would like to go over.
Absolutely. Some super exciting things going on, and I look forward to showing them. Can we just go right into it?
Absolutely. Why not?
All right. Let's do that then. So we have this really cool of course, when you're trying to share and talk at the same time, sorry, it's being blocked. So I'm going to take just a second here
Sure.
to
And
figure out
how you're doing that, I'm going to let you know. If you do have questions, or if you, even after this, if you're watching it when it's not live, you can email us at jim@gtonetwork.com or corey@gtonetwork.com. And we will be able to answer your questions and get back to you. So even if you're not watching this live, by all means, reach out to us. Let us know of any questions that you may have, and we will get back to you. Also, this is a good time to remind you that coming up next Tuesday, we have Joanne Moltz coming back with Convos with Colleagues, and that'll be on Tuesday, October 26th at 2 p.m. She's having an informal roundtable discussion with some leaders in our industry, whether they are DMOs or attractions or just industry leaders, and with some interesting new perspectives on group travel. So join Joanne on Tuesday, October 26th, right here at 2 p.m. for her next session of Convos with Colleagues. Okay.
All right, so I'm ready now.
Okay,
I hope you can
type this in, and we've got lots of us here. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. So when I said, "Are we ready to do this?" your answer should have been no. We weren't ready to do this yet. So sorry about that, folks. I set some security settings so that people couldn't just access my camera. So the first thing we have for you today is our partnership with Broadway Inbound. And what that means is we have sort of reached out and said, hey, let's do a little connection of GTO and your Broadway Inbound database so that we can get your information on our system. And that's exactly what we've done so far. We have partnered with Broadway Inbound to where we have the entire Broadway schedule that's out at the moment on GTO for you to search and see what the prices are and what the theaters are. So how do you get to it? So I'm up on a proposal here. We've already done a proposal, and when I go to the add products and I add a product like I would any other product, I'm going to search for the supplier name of Broadway Inbound. When I do that, it pulls that company up. I can select it. Under products, I'm going to choose the one that says must put in price estimate. GTO has put in several where where you can like sort of have like there's a variety of prices and Broadway things that you can do over at Broadway Inbound if you wanted to make an estimate. But now what we can do is we can actually show you what the price is for these shows directly from Broadway Inbound. So we're going to choose one where we're going to put in a pricing estimate. When that occurs, you're going to see a button pop up to the left that says Search for Broadway Show. When I click on this, it's going to open a new screen. So we don't have to leave the trip product. It's still sitting there, but we've opened up a new screen. And it is asking us to choose the dates. So what you're going to do is you're going to put either the start and end date if you're just looking at one date, or the dates of the trip if you're flexible. So let's say I'm going to be traveling from February 21st to February 25th. I just want to see what my choices are for Broadway shows, tickets, seating, prices. We're going to display that report. That's going to bring up a list. Now, if I went ahead and I closed this down by collapsing all groups, basically what will happen is I'll have a list of all the Broadway shows that are occurring in New York at the time period that I've given, right? So Ain't Too Proud, Aladdin, Come From Away, all the way down to Wicked, right? If you choose that show, by the way, you don't have to collapse it, just makes it a little easier. When it's open, you're just going to see all your price choices too, which is great because you can compare prices. Well, you know, they don't want to spend $159 to go see Tina Turner the musical. Ah, well, I could go see Trevor instead for $89. So basically what you can do then is search for the day, you know, those days. Let's say we're going to do, here's Dear Evan Hansen. It's at the top, so we might as well go ahead. So on the 22nd, Dear Evan Hansen has a show at 7 p.m. and there are 2 group seats available, Center Orchestra and Prime Orchestra Prime Mezzanine. One's $149, one's $179. And so you can then see exactly how much you want to put in for your ticket on the trip product itself. If you wanted to choose the 23rd, you have those choices. The 25th, you have those choices. And you'll say, well, you know, $149, that's a little too much. Let me scroll down and see. Well, clearly Hamilton's not going to be in your thing. Let's say here's Jersey Boys. Jersey Boys is now $65 at the moment for an orchestra mezzanine AV. So perhaps we can afford Jersey Boys. You call up your client and say, hey, look, I know you wanted this one, but we don't have them. You know, it's not in your budget. How about this? And you have these chances to sort of compare, contrast right here on this screen. Let's say you don't even know what something's about. I mean, unless you've been living in a Broadway hole, you don't know what 6 is about. And so what you can do is you can actually click the view icon and you can come over here and it will give you the synopsis and the runtime. So this is 80 minutes, no intermission. It's about, I've only heard the music, I haven't seen it. So I'm only halfway living under that rock.
I've seen it, it's fantastic.
It tells you the theater. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind because the music is great. But it'll give you the theater that it's at, the performance date, performance time that we've selected right here. Let's say this is what we wanted, right? Now, over here on Sales Manager, I can go back and forth right now because I've opened one up in a new window. That happens automatically. You don't have to do that. But when I come back over here and I say, you know, I think, all right, well, I'll add my miscellaneous cost. This Broadway Inbound cost right here, this is $119. So now I can go ahead and add $119 onto my trip. All right. And then in the product notes, if you know, this is a suggestion, by the way, what I can do is I can actually select this entire top part right here down to group price. And I can cut this or copy this. Sorry, that's not going to work right here. I have to do it this way. So I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut to copy. And then I'm going to paste it down here for ops later so that they know exactly what it is that I was searching for, or the ticket that it is that I'm wanting. And then you can actually save and close this just like you would any other trip product. Now you're asking yourself, well, why can't we just pull it in from this really cool thing that you have created? And the answer is, ask me again in a few months, because what we've decided was Broadway inbounds we have different levels that phases, I guess is what we call them right now. We've completed phase 1, which is our connection to their database. And phases 2 and 3 involve integration of the information into a trip, so all of it pulls over. Part of those phases also includes the availability. Right now, you're still going to have to call Broadway Inbound for availability. All this is giving you is prices, places, seats. It basically gives you the information you need to actually put it in a trip more accurately. Many companies sort of do the price guessing game for a while, or what you do is you go to Broadway Inbound and you find the price and you come back, when in reality, all you have to do is go here, and now you can put it on your trip without having to go to extra steps, without having to call somebody, without having to go to another website. It's all right here for you. And then as we close those other phases down, it will become a seamless add to it. If you notice, we have the product ID, we have the product code, we have everything you need to actually order those tickets when it comes time. Another way you might be able to do this is to copy the URL up here and put it into the product notes for operations, so that the operations person can see the same record that you're seeing. That's certainly another option right now, as we plan to integrate it. Just so you know, that's a temporary solution to getting the information from one place to another. As you know, when you sell a trip and you push it over to Trip Manager, the product notes for operations goes over there as well, so that operations can see it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. As a matter of fact, once you're here, if like there's just, you can always go back, by the way. So once you see the trip, or what I'm sorry, once you see the musical, you read about it and you're like, no, I don't really think so. For instance, some student groups, you may not want to see some of them. They might have a little a little too much risque for a school group, or maybe a younger group. We're gonna, let me read about it, let me see what it says, and then go back. You can always back button to this area and see that. And if you're worried about seeing dates, they are color coded. So like, here's the 21st, here's the 22nd, or 21st, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. There's only some of them have one on the 22nd. So it gives you that availability. But you'll have to see how many tickets are left by calling Broadway Inbound at this point in time.
Right.
And that's what I got on that. Any questions on that, Jim?
No, that's fantastic. I think the one thing that to clarify too, if you're putting in a request for a specific date and tickets aren't on sale yet for that date, it won't show up. So what it's going to be showing you is they're going to show the set of shows that that tickets are on sale during that time period. So that it kind of makes it easier if you're trying to plan a trip, and you can go back then to the students or to the teacher and stuff and say, well, this is your list of shows that are actually on sale for that time period right now. So if they do have to put something in place right then and there, they know what's actually on sale.
Yes, very true. And we do, that is a regularly updated database from Broadway Inbound. So the prices and shows should be current as Broadway Inbound knows it.
Yep. That's great.
Awesome. All right, let's go to our next topic then. For anybody who uses Trip Manager regularly, you know that, or actually GTO in general, GTO is a pretty massive program when you start to think about the things that it automates and does, and the information that it collects and keeps. And that's true in Trip Manager as well. And sometimes it can be overwhelming to have all that information in one spot. So we decided to redo a little bit of the just a few minor changes to the user experience to help guide you through the next steps. In Sales Manager, we pretty much lead you through the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But booking doesn't have those same, you know, very solidified steps in what you're doing to build a trip. Booking can happen at many different times, and there are changes to numbers, and they want to swap out this for this, and it can be, you know, so we have to present information in total, but we decided to organize it a little bit differently to help you through all of that. And when you hit a trip for the very first time, so this trip just got pushed over that you're seeing in front of you, the Delleman test account. For those of you who are regulars to Coach and Go, know the Delleman test account well. This is the motor coach 10th grade drama to New York. And you see some basic information here. You're still on the trip main page. Always a plus to remember that if you look up at the top in Trip Manager, it will tell you what page you're on. So sometimes if you're like, I don't know where I am, you can just scroll up, and if you see full product page, you know you're not in the right spot. One of the changes that we did make was we made it very clear what status you're in. So here's our contracting status. When we're ready to move this to another status, we're going to find out how to do that. It's going to change this word here for you, but we made this a little bit bigger. It's always sort of been here in the center of things, but it's never been it never stands out. If you utilize those steps, then it's a lot easier to keep track sort of where you are. I am personally terrible about things like making notes for every little thing I do, but if you do that, GTO, man, just it really organizes everything that you need. The send a group accounting button still here, just like it was before. It'll still give you the trip name, destination, account manager, the group leader. All of this stuff is the same as it was before, including the number of nights, your departure, your trip start dates. But then you'll notice that there's just not a whole lot of information beyond there. And the reason that is true is because and by the way, these will be blank since I'm logged in as me. I, of course, see all the different development things that we are doing, and so you won't see those. It'll just be blank. But it does tell you what you need to do first. Many people have always said, I don't know what to do first on this. Well, the answer is now plain, which is please begin by updating the passenger numbers. There is a drop down right here for notes, so you can still see any notes from operations that came over from sales. We probably didn't put any in, so it's not going to show any right now. But you could still see that if you wanted to see that. But the first thing we're going to do is to click here to edit our passenger numbers. Now, another question that I get a lot is, why do we have to do this, right? We know what the budgeted student numbers are, right? Well, we have to have a way for you to be able to change the numbers once a trip is sold, right? The chances of the trip having the exact same numbers when it was sold as when it actually travels are generally pretty slim. So we had to come up with a way for you to be able to edit your numbers. And you can do this as many times as you want. And generally what I say is when you log in for the first time to Trip Manager, go ahead and update them to the ones that got, unless you know differently, go ahead and just put them as the ones that were sold. And that's exactly why I put the budgeted numbers here for you, is so that you can update them exactly as they're budgeted. Oh, not child. That would be tour director and bus driver. You can also update your comps here, right? So all those numbers are right here. And when you save and close, I wave my magic wand and it shows me the rest of what's going on. You'll notice that we took a lot of information off this front page so that you don't have to scroll down so far to get to the actual meat of what's going on. And that was done on purpose, but it does mean that you have to actually click on something in order to see any other information. So for instance, your passenger numbers are still here. They're just right here. And now you don't have to go through the trouble of clicking the edit button and then editing your numbers. You could literally just change your passenger numbers as many times as you like right here by clicking this button, and it will update this section. You can also collapse it so it's not there anymore. If you want to know who's been doing those changing, you're going to find it right here under the passenger log, right? But we also discovered that when you a lot of times you want to know who did the changing. How did these numbers change? Who did it, right? You can put that here. I mean, it automatically shows up here when you change the passenger numbers, but you don't always want to see it. So we've hidden that as well. For lack of a better term, we call this the money section. And that is your budgeted comp costs and your booked comp cost. You'll watch these numbers rise as you book, right, to see if it matches up to your total budgeted at any one given in time. This information used to sit right underneath this section, but it took up so much room that it made it hard to figure out what to do next. When in reality, it's just sitting here telling you things. You don't have to do anything here. It's just reporting. But if you ever need to know whether or not you're running in budget, this section is very helpful to you. And lastly, there's this invoicing area. This invoicing area is this budgeted number. Again, just as a reminder, budgeted means anything that came from the sales manager. Booked is anything you're doing in here. So these are the numbers that came straight out of sales manager that you sold the trip for. So your budgeted quad price is $778. That's what you would have put on your proposal in the sales. As you're booking it, these numbers recalculate all the time, so that when everything is booked, if you booked everything at the exact price you sold it at, and you took the same numbers of people, then that booked price and the budgeted price would be exactly the same. Now, the reason it's recalculating is because you want to know, right? Many of you, and let me say this, when I say you, I mean your boss wants you to know exactly whether or not you're staying in budget. And when that booked number calculates over the budgeted number, that means you're now running at a cost higher than you told your the people originally, and you're going to have to redo something for them, from them, or for them. These bottom numbers right here are numbers that you put in because, again, it's a GTO policy that you're in control of the numbers that you send out. So, for instance, let's say you saved money and this booked quad comes up to be $768 instead of $778. Well, you don't want to invoice them for $768 unless you want to give them that $10 discount. So you can actually override the booked cost by putting in a number here, but you'll notice you can't. It won't allow you right now to put in a number. So that's where our changing invoicing information comes in. So when we press this button here, it's going to pull up the invoicing information, and now I can override this. You know what? It came to be $778, but I really want to charge them $790, right? And so what's going to happen is when you send this over to accounting, it's going to use this number instead of what would be calculating here in the booked number. You always have control over the number that you're charging your client. You'll notice that right now we're looking at group payments instead of individual payments. That's there to tell you a little alert so you can see right away whether or not it's group or individual payments. You can, by the way, you're certainly able to change that at any point in time. Again, right here, change it to individual payments if you want. And when we go to that invoicing section, we're going to see that it's changed to individual payments for you. It's also a place, again, so you don't have to keep hitting the edit button and then have it update all the time. You go to a new screen, update it, and it brings you back to this screen. Is it the same thing as the edit button for those of you who are GTO experts? It absolutely is, and if you'd like to hit that edit button, you can. But it saves you some clicks not to do it. And then you're going to notice down below when we have our tabs, you're going to notice a little bit of instruction. So basically what it says is click below to edit the, right? So now instead of it just saying proposed itinerary, trip products, trip tasks, and you have to figure out what you're going to do with them, we're going to tell you now what you're going to do. So you're going to click below to edit the proposal itinerary. So here's the proposal itineraries that came out of sales. If you want to edit it, great. Many of you like to put in your requested product start and end dates right here, right? You just like to grid edit this, put them all in. So when you're booking, they're already entered for you. You can absolutely do that. That is just fine. And then when you're done, if you want this to go away, if you click the proposal itinerary complete button, it still goes away, just like it always has. You'll notice that the tab goes away. The reason we did that is because a lot of people don't like to go to that. They like to see the trip products first all the time. So they don't want to see the itinerary every time they scroll down. They want this to be the first thing they see because this is where the booking gets done. And you're welcome to do that. If you need to see the proposal itinerary, just like before, click on it. The rest of the process follows pretty much the same as it always has, where you're going to request booking on all your trip products. You're going to build the trip out booking-wise by putting in the information and going through those steps. You might have been wondering, like, all right, so these what are all these tabs, right? You can click below to view the trip tasks. Now, this won't have generated any trip tasks because that's company specific. When you want tasks generated, you let me know and I'll generate them. They're automatically generated by product. So whatever you do for each product, you're welcome to send me those tasks and I will make sure that they happen every time you add that product. By category, by the way, by category. So dining is one category. If you'd like to know those categories, let me know. I'll let you know them. Click below to view the attachments. So if this had attached, oh, it does. It has some pre-book contracts in here. I doubt, my guess is there were actually no contracts on there, but sometimes this shows up anyway. But if we had pre-book contracts, they would be here. Click below to manage gifts. Now, this gifts area can be customized a little bit for you all. So if you have things that you send out, we're happy to do that so you know what you've sent to them. And then, of course, the new final itinerary section with the final itinerary, your airline schedule, if we had to add an airline, and your final itinerary. If, by the way, this would be completed if you follow the steps on the trip products. You go through the request booking, you go through all that. Then when you come to final itinerary, all that should be in there for you. Like, you don't have to really do anything except touch up what you want things to say. And that's it. You'd be done with your booking process at that point in time. So just not so much anything different, but a little bit of helpful navigation for you to know what to do next or why something is there. That's really what we were going for here in Trip Manager, since it doesn't really follow a step-by-step process like the Sales Manager does. And so, yeah, that's basically it. I was just thinking of a question that somebody asked me the other day, and even though it's a little bit off topic, and Jim can steer me back to the topic in just a minute, someone said to me they had to change out some things, and they needed to start the booking process over. So you know that once you start pressing the request booking and you complete that form, you know that it goes then from request booking to confirm booking. And then when the company sends back the confirmation that you have indeed gotten the booking and they sent you back your confirmation, all that stuff, then you go through the process of confirming everything. Then you know it goes to the next step. So what they had to do was they had to start over. And someone said, how do you do that? And the answer to that question is, when you go to the eyeball and you go to the full product page, this is what I call the page that tells you everything, if you can find it, because it has everything on here that you need to know about that product. But you have to know where to look. And if you look down here at this booking status area, you'll see the 4 dates: date requested, date confirmed, date guaranteed, and date reconfirmed. And that's what those dates are what actually changed this booking status button. And so if you want to redo it, if you have to go back and start anew, all you have to simply do is come here, go into edit mode, and take out the dates, and it will reset to request booking. You have that ability to reset the booking. And so I know that doesn't have anything to do with the topic today, but that question was asked. They were super happy that I told them about that. And so I thought I'd share it again today while I had a platform to kind of get that out there. So do remember that your attachments, if you had attachments, are attached to a trip product, not to the trip itself. So just make sure this is where you're adding an attachment from. So yeah, that's sort of the little tweaks that we've made. It's not grand changes, but it does help the design and hopefully will help you sort of go through the process of doing Trip Manager.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, the thing about it is, like you said, the functionality isn't really changed. But what this is doing is it's trying to guide them through specifically what the next steps are. You know, a lot of this was added through feedback, you know, so we got feedback from clients basically saying, you know, clients will say to us, you know, where do I find this? What comes next? I'm at this point and I'm stuck. And if we hear that, then we automatically go back in and we're like, let's take a look at this and see what we can do to simplify the whole process. And so a lot of the tweaks and stuff that we do to the system and that Corey works on a lot are basically ways to simplify what you're doing and to make your life more efficient when you're booking these trips. So you know, don't hesitate to contact us with ideas or with the questions, because from these questions we then can go ahead and make improvements to the system. And as we've said, you know, so many times, we keep updating GTO. GTO is not just going to be a stagnant system. It's something that will continually be updated and improved upon. And so we rely on our community of users to give us that feedback. So every time I talk to users, I take notes, and you know, Corey and Keith and myself and everybody else who works with GTO, we will sit there and have discussions as to what your questions have been and what we need to do to improve the system. So don't ever hesitate to contact us with your ideas, because from your ideas, sometimes they're easy little tweaks that we can do at a moment's notice, and other times there are things that we can put in the pipeline so that way we can roll out an improvement that's a little more substantial. So don't hesitate to contact us.
Jim, for those people out there, and you know who you are, you have already glanced down this page and you have said, hey, there's a new button there. What's that do? There is another button here, select options for your WeTravel trip. We're going to go over that in another Coach and Go later on. But basically, we have the connection to WeTravel, and because it's a one button push over to WeTravel, you have to set up some options. But that's for a topic for another time. But do know that we have the ability for you to set up those options for this trip for WeTravel, as well as your general options overall. And that's when we'll go over it, is when we're talking about your general options overall and the options that you can do per trip when you push something over to WeTravel, another partner of ours. I think one of my favorite parts about about building Group Travel Odyssey is the people that are excited about partnering with us to do other things like Broadway Inbound and WeTravel. Those I think that's really great, because eventually, you know, it makes life easier. I always have that. There's always this hump I have to get over when I'm learning something new of the process, right? The process is new, so that slows me down a little bit. But once the process has happened, then it starts to go much faster, because all these things are automated. And when you can partner in with all these people, then, you know, it saves you leaving building the trip to go to that partner, or, you know, transferring a bunch of stuff when it could just be transferred in one shot. So that's a cool thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to mention that many of you, I know those tech heads out there, search the page for every button that they could possibly press, and that is one of them. So.
Yes, we do get a lot of button pressers, which I have in the same way. If I'm going through something, I'm like, oh, what does this do? And you click on it, like, oh, wow.
I need to find a way to make the really important buttons, the ones you don't want to just press at random. I need to put them in some color, that so everyone knows, okay, this button doesn't just open a new thing. This actually does something that I may not want it to do yet. You know, the send trip to Trip Manager button in sales perhaps I should make that with red, so you don't just press that one willy-nilly. But you can press, and it will open up a new screen. And if you don't want to change anything, you just cancel out. So press to your heart's content.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to, I just took you, now they can see your beautiful face again on the screen. So, um, you know, I wanted to just say, as Corey said, we have a lot of stuff in the works. So over the next few weeks, you will be hearing from us with more updates that are happening, going through some little tweaks and changes that have happened in the system that we do want to make you aware of. Also, again, give us your feedback. As part of the GTO user community, we rely on that feedback. We really want to get your input so that way we're building the best product for you and for your daily use. So don't ever hesitate to contact us with that. Don't forget, on Tuesdays, we send out our weekly update. And that is something that is also posted on our website. So any news that we have that has happened from the previous week to then, we will post that so that way any system updates that happen, any supplier updates that happen, just general industry news, as well as the topics for GTO and combos with colleagues. So look for that. That comes in your email as a GTO user. So don't ever hesitate to contact us if you have information that you think we should be putting on there as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Just a reminder that GTO Coach and Go happens every Thursday at 1 p.m. And so we will join you again next Thursday at 1 with a new topic. And it'll be interesting to see who joins us as our guest. So, Corey, thank you again for joining us today. Don't forget, all of our users as well, that we have combos with colleagues on Tuesday, October 26th with Joanne Moltz. And that will be at 2 p.m. So next week, we do have 2 events that are happening, one on Tuesday at 2, one on Thursday at 1. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to hear from you in the near future, and we hope to see you again at our Coach and Go. Thanks so much.